It's a recovery day here at the farm. I'm tired. Let's make some medicine. Real talk. I actually feel not bad, just super, super sleepy, which is for if you've ever experienced fatigue, like chronic fatigue, sleepy is a delightful sensation. I've tried to film this intro 3 different times, and every time a telemarketer has called. I've had so much coffee in the period of trying to film this intro. I need to take it slow today, but I don't want to because there's so much to do in the garden in such a fun way. So, compromise. Come make some medicine with me. It's a time of year here. I don't know when you're watching this, but it's a time of year here when a lot of things are blooming or going to seed, and that means there's a lot of medicine to be made in the garden. There are some things that need to be harvested so I can do next steps for that area of the garden, and there are some things that need to be cut, like grass, but some of those grasses or weeds can actually be used as medicinal herbs. Big caveat, I am not a fully trained herbalist, and I am certainly not trained to teach you how to safely use herbal medicine. I have been training in farm and garden based herbalism since, what year is it? 13 years. I've at least 13 years. But I don't have, there's big gaps in my knowledge, and I just don't work with those plants where there are gaps in my knowledge. So that's really important. I also I've never studied interactions between medications and herbs, and I don't know your body, and I don't know how these herbs really interact with anyone's bodies besides my own. I started using herbs to help with my own issues that other forms of medicine, not just Western medicine, but also quote unquote alternative medicine, were not helping with. The first herb I ever learned to use medicinally was lemon balm, and we'll harvest some of that today. I will share what I know about these herbs, but here's what I'll tell you. For anything that you are not highly trained in, that you're learning how to use medicinally, you need 3 expert sources. The preference is that at least one of them be a human being you can talk to. That's my rule for myself. I will check 3 different reference books before I use something, and I will also talk to friends, or my GP happens to have a database of herb interactions with medications that she can look stuff up on for me. All the herbs I'm harvesting today are things that are generally considered safe. That's not medical advice from me, and you need to do your own research. And they're also things I've used many times before. I know how to grow them, and I know how, or forage them, and I know how to use them safely enough for my body. The other thing to know about herbs is a lot of herbs are food, but a lot of herbs are also medicine. Anytime you're putting a lot of, I guess bioactive is the right phrase, but those kinds of compounds into your body, you can overload your liver. So even if all the herbs are super safe, if you're, taking like 18 different medications and a bunch of herbs, and it's really hard to titrate how much of an herb you take, you can still overtax your liver or your kidneys. So all this to say, garden herbalism is generally super safe because a lot of these things are just tea plants, spice plants that you can use in different ways around the house. And I don't want you to use me as your only resource. I don't want to in any way be giving out medical advice to you who I don't know your situation. That said, herbs are a great resource. Herbalists are a great resource. There are a lot of different kinds of herbalism that come from a lot of different lineages and traditions across the world that have been used as our primary form of medicine for so many generations. I do come from an herbal lineage. On my father's side, my family is Greek, and I think it was 5 generations above me, there was a generation of women in Greece who the family knowledge is that they lived well into their hundreds, and they were all working with plant medicine. And so I do specifically work with Mediterranean plants. Now, luckily, I live in a Mediterranean climate in a different part of the world, so a lot of those plants are also the plants that are just here and grow well here. You don't need to be afraid of herbs. There's lots of herbs that are in your tea drawer already or in your spice cabinet, and herbs really are powerful, and that's why if someone puts you on a certain type of heart medication, they say, for now, don't eat ginger. Ginger is a powerful anti-inflammatory. It can truly affect your blood pressure in good ways or bad ways, depending on your circumstances. What that tells us is these things really can impact us, which is amazing. You can start to learn and experiment as a gardener with some of these ones that are super safe, like spearmint or oregano, things that, unless you have been specifically told that they are counterindicated for something that you are taking or a condition that you have, are considered generally safe. Again, check 3 resources about your specific circumstances. Don't just take it from me. But I do think it's a really important part of farming and gardening ecologically. It's part of how we have a more robust collaboration with the plants and the ecosystem. And when you're thinking about putting in a garden, I've gone into teacher mode. I'm so sorry. I love teaching this stuff. That's what my career has been in. And having to stop doing that because of my health conditions has honestly driven me up the proverbial wall. And sometimes I just switch into that mode instead of taking you on my learning journey with me, because that's what I really love to do. But that's not the point of this channel. If you want to learn from me as an educator and a coach around this stuff, you can go over to racheleconomy.com, and there are pre-recorded courses there. There's also a community where we meet every month to do live coaching about your garden, whether it's design, garden skills, problem solving, troubleshooting, pests. People really want to know about pests, and there's so much fun stuff to talk about there. There's also a fireside chat subscription for every month that starts at just $5, where you get to hear me ramble, sort of like this, only more so, about whatever topics you vote on to hear from me about. That's all on racheleconomy.com. I will try to get out of teacher mode here today and just take you with me into the beautiful herb garden. Everything is useful, but not because it's productive. Utility is sacred, I feel, when I'm in the garden. Let's go.
Are you ready to get outside? Yeah, me too. Look at those ears back. She is not happy with me. We better get out there. What you doing, Junes? You on the hunt?
This is a wild oat grass, and you can use cultivated oats for this too. It's milky oat tops, which is a nervine, meaning it's helpful for anxiety, for the supporting the nervous system. The way I'm checking to see if they're ready is I'm doing that little thumbnail squeeze I just showed you, and a little bit of milk comes out the end, a little creamy substance. And so these are ready to harvest. It's amazing across the hill how some of them have already totally dried up and sent their seeds off into the wind, and other ones are just sprouting seeds. The microclimates, even across the range of the hill. I dropped my charger from my smartwatch behind the bed where I can't get it, so I've been doing a lot of manual pulse checks lately, and I've gotten to the point where I can tell kind of what range it's in just by the pace. It's like ear training for music or something, I don't know. Anyway, there's construction noises all around. I'm gonna pull an entire California poppy plant out, which breaks my heart to do because I love looking at the color, but it is smothering an oregano, a sage, and a mint plant that I put there on purpose. I know those are all really spreading herbs. And California poppy, not related to the super strong poppy like from the Wizard of Oz that everyone's scared of. This is a really gentle poppy. In most herbal assessments, it's considered safe for kids. And yeah, it helps you sleep. It's soothing. We're gonna tincture the whole thing, so that means put it in either alcohol, or you can sometimes do vinegar or glycerin, but I'm gonna do alcohol, including the roots. So I wanna pull it up because the roots are part of that medicine. I'm leaving a bunch of other ones so the pollinators will still have them, and I'll still have my favorite color in the garden. This is a win-win-win. As we say in permaculture, the problem is the solution. Not meaning your problems aren't real problems, but rather this problem of it smothering the other plants is a solution to a different problem. The problem of, when you can't sleep. Herbal medicine can be one of those bridges in the garden, especially with things that are wild or native or even weedy plants. There's medicine everywhere. Okay, I took a little electrolyte hydration and pacing break, and I'm ready to make some medicine. Let me tell you what I've got going on here. I've already dried some oregano, so I'm going to process that to put it away in storage. Now, oregano is a cooking herb, but it's also known to be antimicrobial, meaning it can help when you've got a cold or a sinus infection. It's also got a powerful oil in it, oil of oregano, that is really helpful in like a steam. So you can, if you're really stuffed up, make some, basically it's tea, but out of the oregano, and inhale that. And it's quite potent, so start with just a little bit, and that can help clear your sinuses and get some moisture, some steam into there. And also, the thinking is that it helps. I'm so tired today. That it helps with the infection itself. I hope this inspires you to realize that you're already doing herbalism if you have tea. I'm gonna process the oregano in a little bit, but I want to deal with my fresh stuff first before it wilts. And then I've got a little bit of lavender here. I'm probably just gonna make a cup of coffee with that. The rest of the lavender is still drying. This is just what fell off. Fresh today, we've got the California poppies and the calendula. California poppies. Think we got enough? And then the lemon balm, which is looking gorgeous. Woo! Oh, it smells so good. And the milky oat tops. The lemon balm I harvested pretty heavily. It's in the mint family, and they just grow back like gangbusters. If you've ever planted mint in the ground and then regretted it because it spread so fast, lemon balm's similar. It makes a nice bushy habit though, and it's really beautiful in the garden. It smells incredible, makes a great tea. Anti-anxiety, generally considered calming, soothing. It is just lovely and pretty safe for most people. I like to just dry it and then I use it in teas. It can also be a really good addition to your oregano steam, whether that's for your nose or for around here. I'll put it in a steam with the oregano and then some mullein that I showed drying earlier, those big fuzzy leaves, and use that as a steam during fire season. It helps with lung issues and mucous membranes for smoke inhalation and to help protect us during that time. And I'll make a bunch of that and give it to different people in my community. And hopefully I'll have enough to leave some at the community fridge, which is a great thing to do if you've got abundance from your garden. Anyway, I've gone into teaching mode again. Here's learning mode, Rachel. I've tried to make milky oat tops every season and it never works quite right. It's never as milky as other people's. And what I figured out today is I truly cannot tell by looking which of the plants are at the right stage. Even if the little oat pods, oats look the same as on the plant I just pulled from, I can do that thumbnail test and not get any of the milky stuff. So I harvested less than I usually do, but I checked every single one. We're gonna pop that in the Cuisinart, and that will help release that inner, I think it is called the oat groat, the groat. I think that's right. Then I will put that into a tincture with some very high proof grain alcohol. That is going to extract the medicine, the compounds in there that I want, and then also preserve it. So I'll leave it sitting there. I'm using the, I think it's called the Simpler's method, which is just stuff a jar full of the herb and then cover it over with it's called the menstruum, in this case the alcohol, and let it sit for a few weeks. Just check to make sure that the herb is fully covered. It's not poking out the top, because that's when you can start to get mold or that kind of thing. So you can shake it to make sure everything's getting around. My favorite go-to person to learn these like really simple home medicine cabinet sort of herbals is Rosemary Gladstar. She actually has a book called The Home Medicine Chest, Herbs for the Home Medicine Chest. It's a really small, simple book that is really helpful, and she is a very highly trained herbalist. So if you want to start experimenting or you're feeling inspired, that's a great place to start, along with classes from herbalists. You can do them online, you can do them from bed. It can feel really, for me, is like, as a chronically ill and disabled person, the direct collaboration with the plant to have access to agency in taking care of myself in a world that doesn't have cures for the diseases that I have. They are not currently curable. Most of them we don't even understand why they happen, which is wild. They're very well documented to be happening, and we know what is happening in some cases we don't. Like, there's still a lot of debate about what is going on during migraines, which is wild. There's a lot of information as well. I guess for me, it's like taking back some some sense of power that is also joyful and playful. So it's not about trying to optimize or get cured by herbs or anything, because that's not going to happen for me. It's more like I don't have to engage with any of the rest of the medical system in order to access medicine, joy. Also, it just tastes, I use a lot of tea. It tastes good. Yeah, I think there's a sort of ritual component too of sitting down with a cup of tea or closing your eyes and putting a few drops of tincture under your tongue. The reason we do that is it's more direct access to that. You can absorb stuff directly into your bloodstream. I just feel like, for me, this is something that it feels positive. It's a positive process. I enjoy this process. Like I said, I'm like solving certain problems in the garden, and I'm gonna save the seed pods. I'm leaving flowers on the calendula to go to seed, right? I'm not trying to prevent any of these plants from creating a next generation, and they are here in the house as well as outside. And especially for those folks who are housebound or bedbound, if you have someone with you who can bring an herbal plant inside. I'm trying out growing some herbs under a grow light this year, basically for myself, but also for my sick and disabled friends and other folks who just don't have access to outdoor growing space, to see what we can do indoors on a shelf with very little labor. My whole thing is, we're ecological creatures. And I think that being in relationship with our senses and other ecological agents like this beautiful, delicious plant, I think removing that from our lives puts us, like, it's not even about that's super healing. It's like that's our default. That's our baseline. That's what we have evolved for our whole existence on this planet. And when we're indoors, because of access needs or whatever reasons a lot, I think personally that our body's alarms start to go off because we can't smell plants, we can't hear water, we can't hear wind, we can't feel the sun directly. And especially if you experience sensory overload as one of your symptoms, which I do sometimes, and you can't, it's like I can't even have the blinds open because I become super, super light sensitive. Getting what little bits of access to that relationality through our senses with ecology, I think that's our birthright. It's especially empowering to me to bring that indoors when I need to. So if you're thinking like, well, I can't go out on a hill and harvest herbs, Rachel, you can order dried herbs in the mail. They will come to your house, do some research or have someone do some research for you. You can have a little grow light on your bedside table. You can get an automatic watering bottle for it that you stick upside down in the soil, so you don't even have to think about it except when you happen to have a little extra energy. This is going to be a longer video than I meant, but I guess I just wanted to talk about what it means to me to have this whole other kind of medicine that is not just about the compounds that I'm taking into my body, but also the whole process feeling, it's so cheesy, but nourishing. And it's part of my health. Remember, I think we can be healthy and sick at the same time, right? That dichotomy and that moralizing of health in our, at least US culture, is just so weird to me. Some are more impacted than others, and we need to give them care. This is one of the ways that I feel like I am well, is when I'm in relationship to plants in some way. I'm not saying that this is equally accessible for everyone, because it's not. But it is one of those things for me anyway, that I can do a lot on a day when I have a lot of energy. Like planting the herbs and, weeding them and all of that. But then this part, I tend to have energy in the morning, so I used my energy to go harvest. I'm getting really tired. You can see I'm slowly slumping under the table. I'm just going to sit here with my feet up and slowly process these herbs and have something to do with my hands, which keeps me from feeling just like bored and devastated that I'm having to rest alone in my apartment, and helps me feel in my body in a way that isn't just about symptoms. And I don't know, feels creative but also methodical and soothing, and I don't have to think too much. The first time you do it, you might have to think. But some of us can't access thinking all of the time. Yeah, learn it on a good day well enough that you can do it on a bad day, I guess, is my new advice for myself. Which parts of this are interesting to you? Can you tell me so I know what to leave in when I edit? Thank you. All right. So generally, it's good to rinse things that have touched the soil. So there's no roots on this. I watered it yesterday. I know it's been rinsed. I'm not particularly finicky about insects. If you are, you can rinse it again, and then make sure it gets really good and dry. So lay it out like in one layer before you hang it to dry. I'm just getting all the stems to one. I'm doing a teaching video. This isn't a tutorial. You can buy my classes. This is like me learning. I'm gonna hang the lemon balm to dry for tea. I'm going to process the oregano. I'm gonna let the calendula dry in this basket. And then I'm going to, for both the poppy and the milky oat tops, I'm gonna put them in the Cuisinart and then submerge them in the grain alcohol and let them sit for a few weeks. And I will strain them. I like to mix them into what's called an elixir, which basically just means I'm gonna add honey. And I think that's my plan, so let's do it. I'm so hot. True fatigue has set in. Literally, the battery on the camera and my battery are flashing red. Rest, 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 go lay down. It's always a trade-off, I have to do whatever I want to make sure it gets done in a day first thing in the morning, because that's when I know I will have energy, unless it's a really bad flare day. And so the first things I always do are take care of my animals and my plants. And myself. I feed myself, I feed my animals, I walk my dog, I water my plants. The other animals are the chickens right now. And me, I'm one of the animals. So this morning, I fed myself, I fed the dog, but we didn't walk because it's hot outside and we were gonna spend the morning outside. She heard walk. She's sitting exactly in her walk spot. But I haven't fed the hens yet. It's almost lunchtime, which means morning energy is gone, and I need to water. And then I think the rest of the day is going to be a bed day. all this light just to have enough light in here for the camera. Like you can see I'm starting to squint. It's really sobering every time. What I just did was work. It is physical work. But that's not what I'm tired from. It's not that I'm physically tired from exerting myself now. It's the way that the exertion causes this delayed fatigue. And since I did exertion yesterday, I'm having fatigue today, right? It's not like you're tired, like you worked out really hard and you weren't in shape for it. It's not that. It's so hard to explain, but it is a documented thing. And if you're having post-exertional symptoms right now, I feel you, and I hear you, and you don't need to do anything right now if you can afford not to. It's okay. We have to pace ourselves. We don't get a choice. Hello, little tappy toes. Why things like herbs, food, where I do have some choice. I'm lucky in that my diet is not super restricted right now by my health conditions. But places where we can play and create and collaborate feel really good to me because, gosh, this crash that I'm having, like right now I've hit the wall. It just makes me feel so helpless. And I'm not helpless, but the options feel really limited. Oh, there's the alarm telling me to take my meds and go have lunch. I'm rambling. I don't know. I don't ever want a toxic positivity at you. This is hard. And I'm grateful that I get to be here on this land where I am. And it's just an absolute lucky thing that I get to be here and tend these plants. Joy is not a luxury for me anymore. I don't know if it ever was, but I thought it was. It's a survival necessity for all of us. And we can do our best, I think. I can do my best to try not to have joy at others' expense. But we're also born into systems where a lot of the stuff we do does harm just because we showed up, and we have to work actively against that. And that's just sucks. And it's the reality. Letting go of perfectionism, but trying to have joy that does good to the land and to ourselves and to each other and to the creatures and the plants and the rocks. I'm talking like I'm saying something profound. The truth is, I'm just like, these are the things I think about when I start to lose control of my thoughts. And they sound like they make sense, maybe, but I have no idea what I just said to you. So I'm going to go rest. Projects like making medicine, I have to prioritize it sometimes or it never happens. These are the trade-offs, that we are all doing this calculus every day, those of us with limited capacity for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be because of a disability or because of aging. It could be because you have kids. You get 30 minutes a day where you can make a choice about what you're doing, maybe. And you have 8 different things you need to put in that 30 minutes. I don't know. I'm just doing my best here and trying to show you some of the realities of it along with the beauties. And I don't know. I hope that's makes you feel less alone. Certainly makes me feel less alone. So thank you. If you want to watch me go completely into teacher mode, as I have attempted to do multiple times in this video, despite knowing that that's not what this is about, you can head over to racheleconomy.com and you can join the Fireside Fridays $5 a month community if you want to hear me ramble and you like this. It is fully unfiltered rambling. Sometimes we do lives, sometimes we do Q&As, just like a community space. Or if you want to actually get coaching on garden and permaculture skills, sustainable design skills, garden troubleshooting from me, there is the, oh my God, I'm so tired. I can't remember what it's called. There's another subscription tier monthly. You can unsubscribe at any time, but it's the absolute cheapest way to get garden mentorship and design thoughts from me, and it's really fun. We do it in community and we get to share knowledge crossways too. There's also some pre-recorded video courses there that you can watch if you need to pace at your own time and not do something live. Boy, do I understand that. Obviously, that's why I'm here and you're not watching this live. Yeah, I love sharing this stuff. And as a learner, as a facilitator, as an educator, or just as a friend, try to make some community from my garden to yours. Remember, gardening is for everybody, and I'm here because we're going to try to figure out how. I'll see you next time.